I just want to let you know right off the bat, this video is stupid. And honestly, to someone who like doesn't really have social anxiety or like someone who doesn't care about what people think of them, this is gonna be 3 stories of nothingness. Like, to some people, this is just a whole lot of nothing. But I know there's people out there who will understand what I'm saying and will understand why it's weird. I was thinking about this, and like, I'm not in school anymore. I finished high school, I graduated college, I'm out of school, and something that I kind of noticed, like when I thought about it, was I'm not like put into that many situations that like really trigger my social anxiety anymore. I mean, I kind of am, like with like certain jobs I've worked, but overall like it's not something that I have to worry about as much. Yeah, school can be really difficult for people with social anxiety, like especially with like group projects. It makes me like anxious just thinking about doing a group project, seriously. I hated that stuff. Okay, here's 3 stories that pop into my head when I can't fall asleep at night and I'm remembering all the awkward things that I've ever done in my lifetime. I was gonna leave this story for last, but honestly, fuck it, it's that kind of day. I just want to get into it. This story, honestly, like, this fucks me up. It's like so unbelievably stupid. You'll see. Okay, so if you're in college, or if you were in college, I don't know if every college does this, but I kind of would assume that they do it this way. Like, you have a lecture class, and then a lot of the time, like, you have a discussion class to go with it. So like, your lecture class might be like hundreds of people, right? And then you have discussion classes where they like basically split it into smaller groups, and then you have that like one class with like your little group of people separately. You know, you guys probably know what I'm talking about. I always hated those classes because it's right in the name, discussion class. I hate having discussions. I like get so anxious having to like talk with strangers like that. Okay, let me paint you a picture. This was, I don't know, probably around, I don't know, I want to say like 2015, maybe 2016. I hope that's right. The point is, I definitely was going through a thing where I was dressing like super emo. I've always kind of been emo and like alternative, whatever. I don't know. Like these days, honestly, if I was still in school, I'm sure I would just like wear sweatpants or like, you know, like I wouldn't really dress up. But I went through this like kind of thing where I was like actually wearing like my favorite stuff to class and like doing my makeup and like hair and everything. I was dressing pretty, like, I'll put some pictures here to like kind of give you an idea. Like kind of like a mall goth type look. I would wear this trip skirt that I still have it. I still love that skirt, but I would wear it like to school a lot, and like big ass boots, and like I had black hair and I would clip in these 2 like red things here. Honestly, like I was really ahead of my time. I feel like that's such like an e-girl thing to do these days, to have like 2 streaks of like red or pink in the front and then the rest of the hair is black. I was on that so early, like as I said, like 2015 or something. At the time, like no one really dressed like this. Goth is kind of coming back, so things are a little bit different now fashion-wise, but at the time that I was like really insistent about like dressing this way and like getting completely ready for class like this, it was not popular. Like I didn't see anyone else dressing like this. I don't know why I did it. Now that I think about it, like, why did I try so hard? I don't know. I mean, I had no social life, so I had nowhere else to wear these, like, cool things that I liked. So that's probably it. Basically, people probably thought I was weird. Like, I'm not 100% sure. Like, I can't speak for what other people were thinking, but I'm sure they thought I was weird, because, like, I don't know. You get it. You get what I was looking like. I don't remember everyone that was in this class, but I remember there was this one girl. She was like, there was a girl in America's Next Top Model who was blonde and had kind of like a really high-pitched, like kind of squeaky voice. This girl in my class reminded me a whole lot of that girl. Just really like high-pitched and girly, and like she kind of looks like a Barbie. There's nothing wrong with any of this, okay? I'm just saying, I'm trying to paint you a picture of what she was like. I actually thought she was pretty. I remember thinking that like before this whole thing went down. We were in this discussion class, right? and our desks are all like scooted in like weird obscure ways because I think like we had been talking in small groups or something. You know, when the teacher says like, okay, get into like groups of 3 or 4, and then like people scoot their desks together and the desks just become like really chaotic and like it's just a huge mess. It was like that, but we had transitioned back into like talking, like the whole class was having one big discussion, but the desks were still chaotic. Trust me, this is important, okay? So I was kind of near the back of the class in my like weirdly positioned desk. I was kind of like close to the back of the room. And this blonde girl that I was talking about was kind of more near the front of the room, not that far away from me though, like it was a small room, right? Kind of near the front of the room, right? And she was speaking like to the whole class. Like she was talking about whatever we were talking about in philosophy that day. She was giving her opinion to the whole class. And I don't even know how to tell this story, but I swear to God it happened exactly like this. Okay, so I was sitting there looking at her because she was speaking, right? Like you should look at someone when they're speaking. I was sitting there looking at her as she was talking, just like being pretty still, looking at her, talking. This is such a stupid story. I remember there was this girl kind of like to my left, in like a weird way, as I said, like the desks are kind of weird, but she was like shuffling papers around, just this random girl. She was shuffling her papers, right? And okay, so the blonde girl who's talking, in the middle of her like saying something, she stops mid-sentence and she looks kind of in the direction of like me and this girl who's shuffling papers, and she says, "Can you stop that?" And the girl shuffling papers stops shuffling papers and she's like, "Oh, sorry." And the blonde girl's like, "No, not you." And it looked like this girl, this blonde girl, was looking directly at me. But like, you know when like someone is kind of far away from you and they're talking like in your direction, but it kind of always seems like they're looking at you, even if they're looking at someone like to the side. So I kind of thought that. I was kind of like, she's not talking to me. I know like it looks like she's looking at me, but I'm sure she's like not talking to me. I was kind of the only one besides this girl shuffling papers that she could have been talking to though, unless there were people behind me. So I was like, I'm sure she's talking to someone behind me. Like I'm sure she's looking over my shoulder, right? So I didn't really think that much of it other than like, what could someone possibly have been doing that was so distracting that she had to like stop herself mid-sentence in front of this whole class of like 20-30 people and call someone out. Like I wondered what it could have been, but I didn't really think anything of it, right? And then so the class goes on, I forget about it, I don't know, like it's whatever. And then when it's time to go, when everyone's packing up their stuff and leaving, I remember like packing up my stuff, and I'm kind of the type of person that like packs up my stuff pretty quickly, and I tend to be like one of the first people to leave. I don't know why, I just like am that type of person who just like bolts out of there. So I pack up my stuff and I like stand up, I turn around to leave, and as I'm exiting the room, I notice that no one was sitting behind me. I guess it is possible that someone could have left, like either in the middle of class or like really quickly as I was packing up my stuff, but at the same time, like I didn't hear the door, like I didn't hear anyone behind me like shuffling around. So that means that that girl had been talking to me and telling me to stop. I can't remember her exact words, by the way. Like she could have just said, "Hey, can you stop that?" Or I kind of feel like she said like, "Can you stop that? That's really distracting." I feel like she used the word distracting. I can't remember though, because this was so long ago, but she had been talking to me basically, probably, unless there was like someone behind me that left, which I don't know. And it literally it literally keeps me up at night wondering like what I could have possibly been doing that was so awful that she had to like stop, because as far as I know, I was sitting still. I guess I could have been like, you know how people like shake their leg sometimes like when they're sitting still. I guess I could have been doing that. I don't think I was, but like I could have been. But even if I was, like, is that enough to stop what you're saying in front of the whole class and call someone out? And I wonder, like, is it because I was staring at her? She was talking. Like, aren't you supposed to look at someone when they're talking? This one really bugs me, like, a lot. I'm honestly, like, this fucking story keeps me up at night. I hate it. I hate it so much. I just wish I could know, like, what it was. I was really shy. I mean, I'm still really shy, but I'm just saying, like, there's no way I would have, like, come up to her after class and been like, hey, what was I doing? Or, like, anything like that. I was so shy. The only thing I could think is that she just didn't like me, just, like, because of how I dressed or whatever, and she just, like, saw me and it just, like, bothered her. So she just, like, called me out in front of the whole class. I don't know what to think about that story. That's definitely, like, the weirdest one. It still, like, boggles my mind. I hate it so much. I've kind of realized at some point that I kind of have a resting bitch face, like, and being someone who's shy, you fellow shy people, you know this. Being shy can definitely, like, be mistaken for being bitchy because, like, you just sit there and don't talk, and some people just think you're bitchy, especially if you have a resting bitch face, as I do. I'm just like, I don't have, like, a kind of looking resting face. So I don't know, maybe she thought I was, like, giving her a bitchy look, but even if I was, even if, let's just say, I was giving her the bitchiest look, I was rolling my fucking eyes at what she was saying, which I don't even fucking remember what it was. She could have just, like, not looked at me and then, like, come up to me after class and been like, hey, why were you doing that when I was talking? It's just so weird to me that she called me out, I guess. Honestly, it might not have been me. It might have been someone else that she was talking to. That's what I like to believe, because if it was me, then I don't know what to say anymore. I guess I'm just an inconvenience to everyone in the whole world just by existing. Okay, let's move on. Honestly, that was probably the most interesting story. That's the one that I think about the most. That's the one that boggles my mind the most. These next ones are just cases of me being, like, shy and embarrassed. Let's do another college one. This was actually another discussion class. It was also a philosophy discussion, but a different philosophy class. We were reading this book in this class, and it was a good book, but I'm gonna be honest, I felt a little bit stupid in this class. I just couldn't really, like, understand this book on the level that I felt like my fellow classmates were understanding it. I just, like, felt weird and behind. I was trying so hard to be, like, smart, but I just felt so stupid, and this story definitely, like, amplified that feeling times 100. It was one of those things where we split up into small groups to talk. I think we were in a group of either 3 or 4 people, all of our desks pushed together. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but we were just discussing a certain topic of a certain chapter of that book. It doesn't even matter. So I wasn't talking. Like, let's say there were 3 of them. There were either 2 or 3 other people, but let's say there were 3 other people in my little small group. These 3 people were just, like, rapid fire, debating, discussing, like, everyone had something really, like, interesting to say and, like, really complex, and they were just all talking with each other, like, really fast, and I was silent for, like, a solid, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. And if you've ever felt like that, like, you're in a group that's everyone's talking and you don't really know, like, how to speak up or how to articulate yourself properly, and you're just, like, feeling so awkward, it feels like an eternity goes by. It doesn't feel like 5 or 10 minutes. It feels like you're sitting there for an eternity and you're so embarrassed. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe that's literally just a me problem. Basically, I was sitting there not talking. I think, honestly, someone turned to me at some point and was like, oh, do you have anything to add to that? And I was like, no. I think that happened, and that probably only made me more embarrassed, even though that person was trying to help. I remember being like, okay, I have to say something. It's so awkward if I go this whole time and, like, never say a word. Now that I think about it, it was probably more than 5 or 10 minutes. It was probably like a 20-minute discussion at least. But yeah, I remember being like, okay, it's so awkward that I'm not saying anything. I feel so bad about myself, so I'm just gonna push myself and I'm gonna speak up. because it's better than saying nothing, even if what I say isn't that great. So when there was a silence in the discussion, I just butted in and started talking. I don't remember what I said. I barely even remember what this discussion was about. I remember that I didn't really understand what they were talking about at all, even though they all seemed to understand each other really well. They were
like, oh yeah, oh okay, yeah, I get your point.
And like this and this and this, and I literally felt like I was just so lost with what they were saying. But just so that I wouldn't be silent, I like butted in and said something. And I remember after I spoke, they were all just silent. And it wasn't like they were all thinking of what to say next. They all like looked at each other. Like I swear all three of them like made eye contact with each other and like kind of like confused faces too. It wasn't subtle. Like it was very, very clear that like they thought that what I had said was like the stupidest thing they'd ever heard. I was humiliated. Like I was so embarrassed. I just wanted to try so hard and speak up because I felt so awkward, but I had just made it so much worse for myself by doing that. I was honestly, like, it doesn't sound like a big deal to some people, but I was honestly humiliated. You could tell they were all like, this is the dumbest bitch I've ever seen. Like, why is she in this class? I can't believe she's so stupid. I hated myself in that moment so much. I never wanted to go back to that class again. Oh my god, you guys. It was like I just like screwed up their whole discussion that was like flowing so well by talking. They all just like looked at each other like, how are we gonna get back on track to like the actual like smart stuff that we were talking about with this dumb bitch here. I was humiliated. I might have cried in the middle of class. I've done that more than once in my life. I'm not proud of it, but it's a fact. Okay, let's move on, boys. Let's go back to high school. I'm gonna tell a story about science class. Science, honestly, like general science and just any specific like type of science is probably my weakest subject. For some reason, I just like can't comprehend it. Science just boggles my mind. How many times during this video am I gonna say the phrase boggles my mind? I don't know. But science is my worst subject. It has always been. I just like, I can't comprehend it. I just can't. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. So we're in this, I think it was like my sophomore year of, maybe my freshman or sophomore year of high school. So I was pretty young. I remember this specific story because I just remember like how I felt. I'm sure that no one else in this class remembers this at all, but I do. It's fun to be me, isn't it? It was another small group thing, of course. Of course it has to be another small group thing because small groups are the worst. They're just the worst. We split up into small groups to like do some worksheet, right? And I didn't understand the worksheet. Surprise, surprise. I had no fucking idea what was going on. I tried so hard to understand it and I just honestly like I just had no fucking idea what was going on with that worksheet. And I remember I got paired with these boys who were sitting in the back of class that were all like friends. I don't know how I like got paired with them. I think it was just like random pairing, but I ended up with them. And I didn't like go sit with them. I guess I was just like, I don't remember if I said anything or if in my head I was just like, I'll do my part. Okay, so we split up the worksheet. Like it was like, you do this part, you do this part, you do this part. So I just like left to my desk, which was like in the front of the room, to like do my part of the worksheet, right? And then report back to them. But to be honest, like I didn't understand what I was doing at all. And I wasn't about to go like ask them for help because they were like these boys who were like all friends and like they definitely intimidated me a little bit. I was just this like scared little bitch with no friends in that class, and they were like these kind of rambunctious loud boys who were like all friends, and like there was no way I was gonna be like, hey guys, can you explain this to me? We had a certain amount of time to do the worksheet, right? And I finished my part like at the very last second. I like ran back to their table and was like, okay, here's my part of the worksheet, like copy it down on your guys' paper, right? They looked at it and they were like, this is not right. Like, where did you get this number from? This is just like so off. Like they just like ripped into me so hard, like, what the fuck is this? Like, they all just thought I was so stupid. One guy was like, I'll just do it, and he like grabbed the like supplies, whatever, we were like measuring something, I don't remember what it was, but he like grabbed the supplies, he's like, I'll just do this part too, and then he like started doing it and like hustling as like the teacher was like beginning to wrap things up. I could tell he was like so annoyed, and like all those boys were so annoyed. They were all like, I was so embarrassed. Why my camera's being so fucky. Those last two stories, as you can tell, there's kind of a pattern there of me just like feeling stupid that I don't understand the material and trying to understand it, and then feeling humiliated for trying. So that's a thing that happened to me actually like quite a few times now that I think about it. That sucks. That's a huge reason why I'm so happy that I'm not in school anymore. Feeling stupid and like feeling ridiculed by your peers is just the worst. But as far as that first story goes, nothing like that has ever happened in any other instance. That was just so... If that girl ever finds this video or ever sees me in person, which probably is not very likely, please tell me what was going on in your head when you said that, and if it had anything to do with me or if it had nothing to do with me, which is what I hope for. Anyways, that's the end of this video. I am done reliving these experiences. I don't know if this was an interesting video. I hope that like somehow you can either relate to this or like understand why I'm telling these stories, because for a lot of people like this kind of thing just kind of like rolls off their back and they just don't really care. But these things, like seriously, when I'm laying in bed at night, just like pop into my head. I need to get over these things, honestly. Like, I'm sure none of the other people in any of these stories remember these, but guess what? My mind sucks. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast 3 days ago, but I remember these fucking stories. Alright, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and go. You can subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content on this channel. I am trying to get more into story times because I love story times. So I want to make more, even though I do have stories, but I'm not the type of person that like always has a new story, you know? Like, I stay in my house a lot, so things don't always happen to me. Thanks everyone for watching, I really appreciate it. Please leave me a comment down below, and just like, you can roast me if you think that I'm stupid, or you can just like, I don't know, tell me if you relate to me at all. Song recommendation of the day is going to be Hi It's Me by Ash Nico. If you somehow haven't heard that song yet, you should listen to it. Okay, bye guys.